Hello, everyone. We're on day number 1, the secret to losing weight and keeping it off. Do you ever feel like you'll never break free from the control of food? I used to feel that way. Overeating was the one thing in life I thought I'd never be able to overcome. Every year I'd make the same New Year's resolutions, lose X amount of number of pounds. Every year I failed to reach my goal. I don't know if you guys have ever did New Year's resolutions, but I myself have. And never managed to keep it off substantially, with the exception of this past year. I tried diets, and about every 29th time they worked. Usually when I had some reason I absolutely had to lose weight, a wedding, a reunion, or a number on the scale so shocking I could hardly believe what I was seeing. Yes, some of you may or may not know, but approximately a year ago, I had a physician tell me, I got a new physician, and they came to me and they told me what other physicians had already told me, but I didn't grasp prior to this. But she told me I had 6 months to, before I was either going to have a heart attack, a stroke, or die in my sleep. And that hit me hard, and I took it seriously. And I cried, and I went to my husband, Jimmy, and I cried some more. And he bought me my treadmill, and I got on it, and I worked my tushy off. And, I took it serious. There's more to it, and I'll talk about that more as we go through this Bible study. But that was me at my wit's end. If I was beyond the end of my rope, desperate, I could sometimes work up enough willpower to lose weight, at least enough to get me into the good enough category. But it never lasted. I always gained the weight back. This went on for 25 years. Gain, lose, gain, lose, gain, lose. I could pretty much tell what my life was like by looking at my weight. When life was good, I was slim. When life was bad, I was overweight. I was an emotional eater, and my weight reflected what was going on in my life at the time. I have been overweight since, I would say, the 4th grade. My parents owned an ice cream truck. There was a freezer full of ice cream, and I do not blame them, but I think that was the start of me gaining weight, and I never was able to get control of it. And the more I gained, the worse I felt, the more less self-esteem, and the more I allowed other people to treat me as if I wasn't enough. And so let's go on. I wish I could say, but then one day I saw the light and suddenly my life changed. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. This is what really happened. One day I discovered a discipline that God had used to transform my life in countless ways. That discipline is the renewing of the mind, and because of the Holy Spirit working through the discipline, I now live free from the control of food. However, and this is a sad however, it didn't happen overnight, and it took a long time. Many, like me, I said, physicians prior had told me those same things. I had high blood pressure, and sleep apnea, urinary incontinence. I mean, a list of, things that were going on with me, and I was over 300 pounds. I would drink a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper like it was going out of style. I rarely, if at all, drank any water. And very to little exercise. I was always sitting on the sidelines. Hours of meeting with God to discuss my food issues with Him and look at life from His perspective. But those hours spent with Him, they were incredible hours. Hours that brought me closer to Him. Hours that got me excited about His Word. And hours that slowly but powerfully began to change me. If you're in the same spot I was for 25 years, even 5 years, even 2 years, let's do this. Let's do this together. Feeling like you'll never break free from food's control over you, let me encourage you. God is powerful. He can do anything, including setting you free from the stronghold of overeating. He may not do it as quickly as you'd like, and that's almost guaranteed, but He will do it if you seek Him for help. The Bible study is all about going to Him for help. Let's begin by getting a biblical view of transformation. So there are 4 Bible study verses that they want you to do, and your role and God's role, and I will post that in the comments. But the first one is John 8:31 through 32, which is the dispute over whose children Jesus' opponents are. To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, "If you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And then there's John 15, 1-5, the vine and the branches. "I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that he will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." And another word for prune is also he cleans. And what comes to mind there is the branches of a tree, and you have to prune the branches of your tree in your life, and so that the water and the nourishment that you're giving the tree goes to the living parts and not the dead parts that are out here. So we're constantly doing this pruning of ourselves. Okay, so then there is Romans 12:2. "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." And I also read that verse last night in the preview. And the last verse, 2 Corinthians 10, 3-5. "For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." And there's some other questions, and again, I'm going to post this in the comments. What is our part in the transformation process? What is God's part in the transformation process? What do you normally do when you want to be transformed in the area of weight? And according to the verses you just read, is that enough? Why or why not? The Greek word used for abide is the same word that's used for living in a house. The idea is that we don't just visit the word for 10 minutes a day. We live in the word, meditate on it, chew on it as we walk through the day. Let it fill us and change the way we think about life. Let it fill us and change the way we think about food. And even let it fill us and change the way we think about ourselves. My prayer is that the Bible study will be a time of deep fellowship with God as you go to him for help with weight loss and maintenance. Each day I'll have a short study and an optional assignment that will help you apply the lesson. And here's your first assignment. And I'm going to put all of this in the comments so that you don't have to buy this book. But your first assignment is buy a journal, and it can be something as simply as this, or like I did mine on a Word document, and I can keep it, Post-it notes, anything. So buy yourself a journal you can use for this study, and download the free app, I Deserve a Donut and Other Lies That Make You Eat. And if you haven't already done so, you can read more about this resource in the introduction to this book. It's also available as a paperback or an ebook. And then you can also try the library or eBay, Amazon. But I'm also going to download that, so I will be adding that to part of my daily devotions here on YouTube and Facebook, possibly Instagram. And I'm gonna, if you want to join my email list, you can comment and ask for that as well. And then a practice abiding in God. Set a timer for 15 minutes and just sit down with him. Listen to him, talk to him, meditate on his word, enjoy him, worship him. Me personally, when I'm driving to work, that's when I do some of that. I turn on Christian music after I drop my son off at work and I'm going to work, and I turn on the Christian music and I'm listening and I'm praising him and I'm praying in my head and I'm talking out loud. And that's my time with the Lord. And as I walk into work, I continue that. Then when I get in my car and I go home, sometimes I do that. Sometimes when I'm driving to Sacramento, I do a lot of praying in the car. And then, of course, during worship on Sundays, in the evening time, really any time, your lunch hour, your break, any chance or opportunity that you get. so that is the conclusion of today's. Tomorrow we'll move on to day 2. Thank you for joining me.